Hi, my name is Patty Knapp. Today I'm going to show you how to make sarma my way. It's a twist on the traditional yalanshi sarma in that I add meat. You'll need about 4 medium-sized onions, and you want to cut them consistently. So as you're making your horizontal and vertical cuts, you'll want to be fairly even throughout so that when you do cut your onions, your first cut is your final cut, and you won't have to go back and re-chop. And this is about how they should look. Preheat your pan before adding your olive oil. Add enough oil to cover the bottom of the pan. I can't give you an exact amount since the size of your pan might vary from mine. After adding your oil, you'll want to wait just a little to let your oil heat up. Then you'll want to add your onions. Ah, that sizzle is what you want to hear. Stir your onions, remembering that you want them to sweat, not brown. You'll need to stir them, depending again on the size of your pan, for about 5 to 10 minutes. Now we're going to add just a little bit of olive oil to this pan so my lamb doesn't stick. I'm going to crumble it in the pan, and we're going to cook it just until it's just cooked, not really brown like I stated before. You just want to make sure that if you picked it up and ate it, it would be cooked enough to do so. Now you want to keep stirring your onions because remember, you want to sweat them, you don't want them to brown. And you'll want to keep working on your lamb so that it cooks evenly, breaking up the larger pieces as it cooks. Parsley for this recipe. Fresh parsley is preferred. I just happen to have 2 varieties here in my garden, flat leaf and curly. I prefer for cooking the flat leaf. You'll need enough for about 1/3 cup. That should do it. I found the easiest way for chopping parsley is to kind of put it in a little bunch so that it's kind of tight, so when you start chopping through it, you get kind of a fine chop to start off with. And then you can run your knife back through it to pick up any little stragglers. Alright, we're going to add our spices just before the lamb is fully cooked. Again, spices are to your own preference. I like about a teaspoon of dried mint, about 3/4 teaspoon of oregano. I put in about 3/4 teaspoon of regular paprika and not this smoked Hungarian type. About a teaspoon of salt. About a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. And I use sumac. Now sumac grows wild in the United States, but that variety is poisonous. So if you're going to use sumac, make sure you purchase it from your grocer and you don't go picking your own. I put in about a teaspoon of the sumac. And for a little kick, I like cayenne pepper. I put in, a good heaping 1/4 teaspoon. And stir this around and let it cook. And we're almost ready to combine them. Okay, our onions are translucent, so they're about ready to go, so we'll turn the heat off on those. And to this we're going to add our meat mixture with our spices. I kind of press down, kind of like getting the fat to stay to one side so I don't add it to the rice mixture. We're going to combine this, and to this we're going to add our chopped parsley. Mix this up and add about a half a cup of water. And then to this we're going to add our rice. Stir to combine. Some of the residual heat in this mixture will start to pre-cook the rice, and it'll help absorb the liquid before we roll our sarma. Okay, you will need to put your leaves in a colander so you can rinse them. You will need to unwrap your bundles, finding the start and gently unwrapping them. Separating your leaves, you'll want to rinse them to get the brine off. You'll need to remove the stem from your grape leaf, taking care not to cut the grape leaf itself. This perhaps is the most time-consuming part. You'll want to take your grape leaf and you'll want to put it the hard stem side up. And depending on the size of your grape leaf, you want to put about a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half. Fold the top over. You want to bring your sides in, sort of like you're wrapping a little package. And fold it over. Don't fold it too tight, but don't fold it so loose that it's going to fall apart. And your finished grape leaf. And you'll want to repeat this process until all the fixtures are gone. Rolling your grape leaf is perhaps the most important part of this whole function. If you roll it too tight, your rice won't have the ability to expand, and more than likely you'll either come out with a tough sarma or you'll come out with undercooked rice. If you roll it too loose, you're going to come out with sarma soup. You'll want to take your leftover and your torn grape leaves and you'll want to line the bottom of your pan. Now, I am not fortunate enough to have a really heavy bottomed pan, so for my cooking I need to put a pretty thick layer, but for those of you who have a good heavy bottomed pan, you won't have to be quite as generous. Now you want to layer your first layer in one direction around the pan, and you don't want to stack them really close together because you want to be able to let the moisture get in between so it'll cook the rice. Now your second layer, you're going to want to lay them the opposite direction. This allows for the moisture also to come up and cook the rice. I have made the mistake in the past of using a pot that was way too small, and I ended up with partially cooked or no cooked rice in my sarma. Better to have a bigger pan than a smaller pan. There, now we've lined our pot. You're going to want to add about 3/4 to a cup of water, depending on the size of your pot. And at this time you can add your lemon juice to taste. I recommend going a few tablespoons at a time, and just before your sarma is done, to taste it again, and you can adjust the lemon juice if you like it a little bit more tart. Then you're going to want to cover this. I cover mine with a plate. If you have a lid, you can go ahead and cover it with a lid. When it comes up to a boil, bring it down to a simmer, and then you're going to cook it for about an hour or until you open up the top sarma and the rice is cooked. Okay, after testing the sarma a couple of times, it's ready. And this is the end result. Nice, fluffy, moist rice. Rice with its meat still juicy, not dried out. Hope you try it.